Where I would like to begin is this is the login to eEdge for kw.com, mykw.com. If you look, scheduled events for this week. CDT, I'm not even sure what that means, but the New Agent Monday, every Monday there's a class. It's a webinar, it's at noon, and it's called Your First Steps to Using KW Technology. I would watch it. It's about 20 to 30 minutes long. All right, it's every Monday. Take your eAgent C website from E to P, create a home base for your business. Take your eAgency website from E to P, design your website, take your eAgency from add your content part 1 and 2. Those are throughout this week. Again, they're all at noon. They're probably about 30 minutes. I'll mention what E to P means probably soon so that you won't be, left in mystery. But every week there are a series of webinars done by KW. Most of them are technology related. Tonight, it already seems like that, we're talking about prospecting. And if you were to go to the search bar, and we were to type in prospecting, what you're going to see is, 21 pages of stuff that comes up for prospecting. One of the things that I would recommend that you watch, in fact, I had considered just showing these instead of doing the class, but then they get upset with me. But this is from Agent Mountain, Agent Mountain is a place on kw.com where they store videos from various events like the mega, mega camp, masterminds, and family reunion. And the Get Amped show is one that Gary Keller does occasionally because it allows him a chance to play his guitar. And if you want to see Gary Keller play a guitar, you could do that. But notice session 3, which is on generating leads. Part 1 is called commitment, and part 2 is prospecting and marketing. So for those of you that are willing to do homework assignments, and you've signed up, logged in, is to try and find those 2 videos and watch them. Does everybody remember how I found them? I went to the search, I typed in prospecting, and there's one of them that says Get Amped. You'll also notice this first one, which is a Gary Keller interview with Bradley Chase, called Stay Focused on Prospecting, is like a 20-some minute session from sort of a radio call that they had done on prospecting. The reason for me doing this is I just wanted to let you know that there's plenty of other resources available. Prospecting is connected to the subject of leads, and technology, eEdge, and what they do, if you go over here to where it says archive training, you'll notice that Internet Leads Month, what month was May 2012. And these are all of the webinars that they did on Internet Lead Generation. There's a class called Internet Lead Generation, which I'll be teaching probably next year. But I wouldn't wait, right? You understand? Even after today, if you're thinking this is not, because I know what you're all thinking at the end of the day, it wasn't long enough. Isn't that what your first thought is? If he could only have gone on, and isn't that what you, well, anyhow, if you want more, there's plenty more. All right? Yes.
So webinar, even they set up time, we can go back.
They record them, and you'll notice that most of them are available. Sometimes it takes about a week. They say 2 or 3 days. I always lied too when I said when mine would be on the internet, right? Because it's easy to say at the time, yeah, I'll have it tomorrow, and then it takes a few days.
Is there a time limit as to how long they keep them on? Because I tried to look at one and it said it was expired.
Some of the ones that have expired mean usually if it was something to do with lead generation.
Well, I forget what it was.
Usually when it says that session is expired, it means that particular component has been replaced by something else. So for example, when they came up with the new internet lead generation course, some of the old lead generation courses, because you understand in internet being 6 months old is like a dinosaur. So they took it off because it may be talking about things that don't work anymore because Facebook has changed or something is different, right? But usually that's why, right? And so I wouldn't worry about that. I'd find another one. There's plenty. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the daily 10-4. All right. Have I mentioned this yet? And I did. So does anybody want to share about doing the daily 10-4? Don't everybody raise their hands at once. Yes, Ross.
I added 10 people in my database, connected with 8 people, wrote 8 notes, and previewed 8 homes.
How long did that take?
Previewing the homes was about 3 hours. The 10 notes was 20 minutes. Prospecting was just in the course of the day, so adding the database. I'm not sure if that's physically adding that.
Well, eventually, what we want to get you to is putting those in e-edge,
Yeah,
right? And so in launching a campaign, either depending upon that's one of the things that we're going to talk about, right? As to how to do that. But that's it. Come on. Wow. This is, yes.
Well, it actually, I don't have my license yet, so I'm preparing for the exam. But I had to drop off my car last week the day after our first class that they talked about doing home tours and stuff, previewing those. And I walked by a for sale by owner sign, and there was a guy out front watering the lawn. And so I asked him, "Are you Bill?" His numbers, and we started talking, and I actually filled out the checklist just by talking with him for like half an hour about his for sale by owner thing, right? And the thing is I talked to him asked him why he wasn't using a real estate agent, and apparently he lost a home in Tahoe over, foreclosure, bad loan, yada, yada, yada. He had a bad experience, and so I talked to him about that, especially Keller Williams is really looking to get out there and bring integrity and, good win-win situations back into the real estate business. Say, for instance, I tried to say, maybe there's another way of doing real estate with a different company. Anyway, so I got his contact information, and hopefully within a month I'll have my license, and I'm going to follow up with him and see if he'd like me to list his house.
But then you might be tired. Well, that's a for sale by owner. The old joke was, we at the office, we didn't want agents just hanging around the office all day long. And so the way to keep agents from coming into the office is you go put a for sale by owner sign in the front of the office, right? Because then when they drive up and they see it, they'll go, oh my God, and they'll just drive on, right? Because no one wants to walk past. It's like one of those electric things for the dogs, that they put around, it sort of has. But we're going to talk a little about that, but that's good. All of you those of you that have joined and are doing things, you really need to talk to 10 people a day, put people in your database, preview homes, and write notes. This is I think I mentioned that real estate is not something that just happens. It's based upon what you do. So we're going to start where it says, get your head in the game. There's a lot of this. What we're going to talk about is picking up habits. And the habit is one of daily prospecting. That's the habit. One of my mentors originally said that success was a few good habits repeated over and over, and failure was a few bad habits repeated over and over. And it takes a while. I actually listened when I heard Gary Keller and Jay Papasan talking about their new book, which is called The One Thing. And it's not available yet, but there will be on Agent Mountain probably the session of The One Thing. And if you were to Google search The One Thing or Gary Keller, you'll find Keller Inc., which is where you could get a copy of The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, Shift, Hold, The Millionaire Real Estate Investor, and some of the other books, and where this book will be coming out. And what the one thing was about, first of all, they talked about how long do you have to do something in order to develop a habit, right? And and the studies, by the way, show it depends upon what kind of habit it is, right? Even the habit of drinking 8 ounces of, or 8 ounces of water every day sometimes took a month or so for people to develop the habit, right? So doing something once or twice is not enough to develop the habit. My number may not be scientific, but what I'm suggesting that you do is to develop the habit of the daily 10-4 for 90 days, right? Because after 90 days, what usually happens is that you'll start to get business. There's the old saying, this comes from Michael Gerber, the E-myth, that, you know, people always used to say, if you were more motivated, you'd be more successful. How about this? If you were more successful, you would be more motivated. And one way in order to become motivated is to realize that doing these things produces results, and the result is checks that you get to put in your bank account, right? That's the result. So this is a daily, it's not really what it says, daily habit. Right? You can take a couple of days off, right? There's laws against making you work 7 days a week. I think so. But we're looking at it. Keller Williams Realty Research has demonstrated conclusively that the most important long-term commitment you can make, the most important is to devote 3 hours of every single workday to lead generation at a minimum, right? While there are many great lead generation methods that work at Ignite, we're going to focus on the ones that produces the fastest results in the shortest amount of time, and that's called prospecting. Now, one of those 2 videos that I showed you from Gary Keller's Get Amped from Agent Mountain is an interview that Dave Jenks does with him about the difference between prospecting and marketing. And although this may be coming up, to say it simply is prospecting is when you make contact with them. Marketing is when you do things to get them to make contact with you. All right, you understand? So talking, so when you, win for, up here, you is you build your business quickly, cheaply, and effectively. But the win for your customers is they know who to call to help them when they have a real estate need or know of somebody who has a real estate need. Now, that part which I'm highlighting is sometimes a struggle for people that are new in the business. There's an agent that I'm coaching, and she has issues about talking to her friends about using her as a real estate agent because that's, well, you know, selling and kind of, you know, pushy. And you know, we don't do that. You know, that would be untoward to do that. And so I asked her if she's been in the business a little while, and I've asked her if she's ever met or heard of or worked with a unethical, incompetent real estate agent. And she said, well, yeah, I have. So you know that they are out there, right? So then my question for her is, are you a incompetent or unethical real estate agent? And she was like hurt, wounded that I would say this. I was a question. And she said, no, of course not. And I said, so not talking to your friends means they might end up working with an incompetent or unethical agent, right? What you would rather they do is to just pick someone maybe randomly, right, to work with, right? There is I know of a person who appeared to pick her real estate agent from somebody she knew at church, right? Appeared to pick, and although I guess it's not possible to be 100% sure, it looks like this person really messed up the sale of her home, right? Causing a lot of pain and grief and probably cost money. Do you understand that you might, if you care about them and you know that you're going to do a good job, then you ought to reach out to them to let them know that somebody who's not going to let them down is available to work with them. Do you understand? If you don't have that mindset that they're lucky to have someone like you working with them, then it's going to be harder for you to talk to them. Right? Do you understand? They should. That's how, because what in our system, if you're brand new, you probably have a coach, right, who's been in the business a while. You have a team leader who's been in the business a while. You have a broker who's been in the business a really long while. And so what your philosophy should be, if you know the answer, you're going to give them the answer. And if you don't know the answer, you're going to talk to somebody who does know the answer, and you're going to get the right answer. They will not get the right answer. Right? So that mindset is necessary for prospecting. Your customers will win because you're going to do a better job, and therefore you have, I would say, an obligation to reach out to them. Right? If you're not happy with how much you know, remember I said you have to realize that the product is your services. You need to work on your product. Spend an hour a day. Right? Spend an hour a day learning the business. Chris Heller, mega agent and president of KW Worldwide, says that he knew from day one that prospecting was the only thing that mattered. I didn't know anything about the business, but I knew I had to find buyers and sellers, and the only way was going to get them was by calling. I couldn't wait for them to find me. You understand, if I'm a real estate agent and I'm thinking, well, I'm just going to wait, right? Because out there, see, there might be a couple right now sitting down at the kitchen table and saying to themselves, we'd like to sell our house. And then they're saying, well, who should we call, right? Who should we contact? And they say, well, maybe there's a real estate agent with this name, right? They don't know, right? But they say, gee, wouldn't it be nice if there's somebody that had this name? And we don't know where they work, right, either. So what we're going to do is we're going to start looking for them, right? Do you understand? Does this sound like a productive way of getting business? It's not going to happen, right? You understand? Now, can you spend money on marketing and sometimes not spend money to get them to call you? We'll talk about that later. But you understand, they're not going to seek you out. Right? You need to seek them out. That's what prospecting is. Chris believes that prospecting is the most important activity that any agent can do. Really? What does he know? Without prospecting, there are no leads to follow up on, no listings to service, no buyers to work with, no escrows to handle. What is his suggestion? He thinks, and he says, when an agent is new, they really don't have anything else to do, with no buyers or sellers to service, so they should be prospecting 4 to 6 hours a day. An 8-hour workday with 80% of your time spent prospecting is more than 6 hours. 6.4 hours. 80% of an 8-hour workday. All right. Now, I may have mentioned that maybe I know I did, of course, that most of the people who start in real estate fail. Right? Most of the people who get into real estate drop out. And the reason that this happens is because they don't work hard enough, long enough at the beginning. You understand? If you're spending an hour a week talking to people about real estate, they better be the right people, right? Or you're not going to make it, right? You understand? If you're spending 4 to 6 hours a day adding people into your contact database, talking to people, writing notes, and you will make it, right? Unless there's something really wrong. Really wrong. Treat prospecting like any other important appointment on your schedule. If you were to have a listing appointment, you wouldn't stop in the middle of it to take a phone call or check your email. That's crazy. What's he talking about? Agents treat prospecting in the same way because it is actually more important than a listing presentation. The agents that are successful come into the office and they often close the door, and some of them have signs that say, "Don't bother me, do not disturb," and they treat that time period, those 3 to 4 hours in the morning, which is what we recommend, right? 9 to 11, 9 to noon, right? As though it were a job that if they didn't do, they would be fired. And they don't answer their cell phone. and they don't do email during that time period, right? If it were a doctor's appointment, if you were having surgery, right, you wouldn't be on the cell phone and responding to email.
That's time in the morning solely for contacting clients, not writing notes or anything else like that.
You could throw, writing notes won't take that long.
Okay.
I don't mind that you write notes when you talk to people. A lot of times it's easier to write the note right after you talk to them. If you wait to write the notes, what you'll find you don't remember talking to them, right? And it's harder to write the note. But there's a little wiggle room. We're not standing over your shoulder, right? You understand? A day without prospecting is not a work day. I think I told the story of working for the Sharp photocopier dealer. We had to turn in a piece of paper that said how many calls we'd made, how many people we'd talked to, how many appointments we had, how many photocopiers. They did not want to see zero on that sheet. Right? You understand? Zero. They did not want to see zero. Right? Prospecting is the quickest and most productive way to get leads and appointments for business. The quantity and quality of appointments is a direct reflection of your prospecting efforts. Quantity and quality. Those two are interrelated. If you want better buyers, talk to more buyers. If you want better sellers, talk to more sellers. You understand? The problem of quality is solved by more. Right? Well, isn't this fun? Today's plan of action. These are the 4 C's. You should internalize the 4. One of the reasons that I pointed out all those videos is that this is something you want to be good with. You want to be good at. If you were a dentist, you would go to school for a really long time to study dentistry. Isn't that right? To study teeth. Isn't that incisive? Anyway, never mind. I'm sorry. It wasn't that incisive. Oh, so what is it that you have 2 things you really need to study in order to be successful? One is you need to understand real estate as a business, and number 2, you need to understand sales. My Google alerts, which I've mentioned before, a bunch of them have to do with recruiting and prospecting and marketing and things like that. I've actually set up alerts so that when somebody makes a video or writes a blog post or talks about how to get leads in real estate, how to find buyers in real estate, how to find sellers in real estate, it comes to me and I read it. You understand? This should be something that you take an interest in. The more you know about this, the more money you're going to make. Capture, connect, close, or cultivate. The reason that cultivate is off to the side, I will keep repeating some of the things that people said to me. One of them was the fortune is in the follow-up. Everybody that you know and everybody that you meet is going to want to buy or sell real estate, if not now, then sometime in the future. The ones that want to do it now, you should try to get an appointment with them now. It's okay. It's early. All right. If somebody's interested now, you make an appointment now, but if they're not interested now, that means they're going to be interested later. That's where Cultivate comes in. That's called following up. So, prospect efficiently and consistently with 3 processes in your 3 hours. I keep talking about that. Isn't that annoying? 3 processes in 3 hours. Prepare, take action, and maintain. So by prepare, we talk about getting your call list, say affirmations, and focus on the big why. This is simple, but not easy. All right, do you understand? This does not involve heavy lifting. You don't get your fingers dirty. Nobody throws anything at you. At least you can't see if they do it or not, usually. But still, of all the things that salespeople don't like to do, this is what they don't like to do the most. Huh? Just saying. Earl Nightingale said, the willingness to do things that unsuccessful people don't like to do is the hallmark of success. Remember when I showed you that login for KW, my KW, and it talked about E agency, and it talked about moving from E to P. Remember that? And I said I was going to explain what E to P. E stands for entrepreneurial, which means, I would say, natural ability, and P means purpose-driven, which would be unnatural ability. And although there are productivity, let me just see, productivity corner, is that the one? All right, so this is what an E to P looks like. And E says doing what comes naturally. Entrepreneurial style, energy, drive, excitement everywhere, enthusiastic. But you see, the thing is that what you are good at doing right now and what you're comfortable doing right now and what comes natural right now has a ceiling. Right? It's only going to take you so far. And how far you're going to go with that just sort of depends on the luck of what you've got already and your circumstances. Some people are better at it than others. Some people know more people than others. Some people it comes easier to than others, and they reach a ceiling and then they stop. Right? You understand? And their natural ability will only take them so far. What P refers to is doing what comes unnaturally, which is a purposeful style. And that means learning and being willing to do the things that you may not know how to do and don't necessarily want to do. It's sort of like working out, right? You know, I know I'm saying all these terrible, bringing up all these awful subjects. In other words, at first, how about this? I don't want to do it. It's not comfortable doing it. It's painful doing it. I would rather not do it. I can think of lots of things to do other than doing it. But after a while, if I had a trainer or a coach and I was actively involved long enough, would that change? Right? Would I become better at it? Would it become easier to do? Would I become more successful? And then when I start losing weight and everything starts to, then it becomes easier, because then I sort of say, well, I want to do more of this. Right? Do you understand? I want to become even better at it. The willingness to do the things that unsuccessful people do not like to do is the hallmark of success. Right? So why then about affirmations and focusing on the big why? Because the way our minds talk to us, in bold they talk about the drunk monkey sitting on your shoulder telling you it's not going to work, people are just going to be unhappy with you, nobody wants to work with you, right? And if you listen to that voice, you won't succeed. So affirmations, which is sort of like programming software for the mind, right? You'll notice if you look in Quincy's office over at Campbell, who's closing about a transaction a week, you'll see he's got things written on big pieces of paper. He stands when he talks. He is not always. We're old, but he's got little notes and things around. He's, by the way, starts and maintains an accountability group on Monday morning. This is one of the top agents in the company, and he shows up at 8:30 on the mornings to talk with other agents about what they did that week. Right? These are things that new people are suggested to do, and I've actually had people say, "Well, why is he still doing that?" Right? Do you understand why? Why does he do that? Right? Well, because he wants to do 2 transactions a week. Right? That's why he's doing that. So, and the big why is, if you don't want to do this, you probably won't. The 2 things necessary to be successful in any sales, particularly real estate, is number 1, you have to have a desire to do it. Right? And that desire has to be sufficient to result in a commitment for a long enough period of time to do the things you need to do in order to produce results. And that's why we talk about the big why. Why we talk about the big why. Right? As an old, am I an old manager? I know. As an old manager, at one point we used to say we always wanted to hire the guy who was married with 3 kids and the wife didn't work. right? We always wanted to hire somebody like that. Why? Because he had to work, right? You understand? He had to go out and make money, right? You understand? So if and now that doesn't mean that people that have a secondary income never make money in real estate. The why might just be they like helping people buy homes. Helping first-time home buyers buy their first home is an amazing experience, right? It's an amazing experience. And being successful at something can be an amazing experience, right? That you feel good about. But you're going to have to, this is not just mumbo jumbo, right? You understand? Affirmations and have a reason for doing it. You should practice your scripts. I'm going to talk about preparing call lists a little bit later. Take action. Real play, which means you should practice prospecting. You should be updating your database. That means you should do it. And maintain is track results. See how well you're doing. How many calls did you make? How many appointments did you get? Like how many cards did you write, right? Somebody who says, I don't know, is probably not doing it, right? You understand? As a coach, I want to hear from people who, even if they're not, if somebody says, well, I talked to 100 people and everybody, none of them went well, that's better, right? You understand? Because now I know it's not the talking to the people that's the problem, it's probably what are they saying that's the problem. Schedule commitments. We're going to talk about that and write thank you notes. You can already check off tangible things you'll need, a database. You're going to need to become proficient at using e-Edge. You should have a cell phone. You should have scripts. We have a bunch of them. And thank you notes and stamps. I believe you can buy Keller Williams branded ones, but that's unnecessary. If is there an Office Depot, Staples, Office Max, any of those? Ever heard of any of those? If you go there, they'll sell you boxes of them. You need to have some, right? And yes, you can buy ones embossed with Keller Williams if you'd like. What about the intangibles? You'll soon find that factors such as mindset, commitment, and desire are equally important, if not more important, to your prospecting success. Whether you're at the beginning of your career or a seasoned veteran, that means, I think seasoned means salty, you will need to continually refresh your mindset. Say, this is what we recommend. Say daily affirmations. Oh my God, we have one. Create a dream board or book. Sometimes it's called a vision board. If you walk around, you'll see agents, oftentimes successful ones, with a big board and pictures of stuff on it. Right? You may wonder, what are they doing? We actually spend time to create these. And plug into Keller Williams learning events like Masterminds. There's one coming up. Mega Camp, that just happened. Family Reunion is in February. And never miss an opportunity to take the maps bold in your region. We can talk, Noel, about that. That's what's coming up on Wednesday. Right? The introduction was 2 weeks ago. So the affirmation of the day, and what I'd like everybody to do, I know this is stand up. I know it's stand up. We're all going to stand up. And we're going to say 3 times, opportunities come easily to me. All right? 1, 2, 3. Opportunities come easily to me. Opportunities come easily to me. Opportunities come easily to me. Didn't that feel good? All right, great. Sure, go ahead, please.
So, when I met my husband, before we got married, we made what you call a dream board. And we put pictures all over it, things where we wanted to go, things we wanted to get and do when we got married. And we went on our honeymoon. And we were in Ireland, and we took a picture of ourselves standing by a castle. And when we got home, we had the pictures developed. And some of the pictures that we had taken in Europe were the same places that we had put on our dream board. And we didn't even know we were going to go to that castle. It was just, we didn't even know we were taking the same picture. But we did get every single thing that was on that dream board.
I've heard stories like this a lot.
We do that before, that's what they want you to do the first time. I mean, before you even start anything at Keller Williams.
Right.
they encourage that.
You know, it's the psychology behind this. There, you could read a lot. There's a great show I saw. The guy is somewhat of a magician, although he would probably not like that word. Somewhat of he had a show called Tricks of the Mind, and some of the things that he was able to predict people's behavior based upon controlling their environment for a little bit of time. And including, I mean, he would draw something and then he would put people on this like a little trip, and then he'd have them draw something, and what he drew and what they drew looked almost identical. And what it has to do with, we can program ourselves to be successful or unsuccessful. Right, and what I know I keep saying the same things over and over. We get what we inspect, not what we expect. Right, you understand? If our mind is holding the view that we're not going, we might like to be right. Right, you understand? It was Henry Ford who said, "You think you can, think you can't. You're right." Right, and the story that Noel told, I've heard so many times where people would forget about their dream board, right? But they put it together, and then later they would go back and pull it out and see that and that and that and that, all these things that they had put into their mind, they're going to have come true, right? So now I know, because I've done this before, that not everybody who's hearing this is going to do it. Right? I know that. But what I'm saying is that if you're serious, are you serious? This is the question I used to ask new agents. Are you serious about making money in real estate? How many of you would say you're serious about making money in real estate? And would you accept the possibility that we might know more about how to do that than you do? Right? Some people, right? So my suggestion is try what we suggest for 90 days. If it doesn't work, then you can come up with your own plan. Right? Prospecting is a conversation. That's a weird statement. I thought it was me talking to other people. Well, it's not a numbers game, right? That's something I'd heard ever since, the beginning in sales. Sales is always a number game. It's not a numbers game. It's a relationship event. Right? I don't even like the word game. Right? It's about conversations. Jennifer was talking about the for sale by owner. She had a conversation and asked him questions. It's not about me telling them. It's about me asking them and getting them to talk to me. Right? Do you understand? If there's no conversation, you're not doing it right. It's about creating the kind of personal connections that will lead to purposeful relationships that you can build business on. It's about building relationships. Business building conversations. The two things you're looking to do is get an appointment with them or getting a referral from them. Those are the goals, right? The appointment, there's two kinds of appointments we want. One is a home buying consultation, and the other one is find out what your home is worth in today's market, right? Those are the two kinds of appointments we want. And to get a referral, do you know anybody who's thinking of buying or selling real estate? And they always accomplish the following. You want to strengthen the relationship, which means you have to work on it. The fortune is in the following up. Truth. Your success in real estate will be a direct proportion to the number of people who, when they meet you, want to work with you. So, how's the real estate business? You should have an answer to that question. You should be knowledgeable about your product, which is the services that you offer and what benefit they are to the customer. Everybody is listening to the same radio station, WIFM, right? That stands for What's in It for Me, right? That's what everybody wants to know. How can you help the buyer get more house for less money? How can you help the seller sell their home for the most amount of money in the shortest time with the least inconvenience? Right? Do you understand? If you can talk about how your services will help them get what they want, then they will want to work with you. You make prospecting happen through 4 simple steps illustrated below. You capture leads by getting their contact information. You connect by establishing a relationship. You close for an appointment and eventually to buying and selling real property. If they are not ready, you cultivate them and follow up. Note this tip. Capturing leads can be as simple as getting a list from the title company. So, phone lists, right? The phones are, I realize that the new cell phones are really heavy, right? They weigh a lot. Isn't that, I mean, you know, sometimes they're hard to even lift. Isn't that right? So what kinds of lists, just some examples. There's something called the shotgun effect in real estate sales. And what the shotgun effect says is that if you take a map, and we've actually done this back when we had maps on the wall, and you took a stick pin and a house comes on the market and sells, and you put the stick pin in and you watch, other homes will start coming on the market and selling around it, right? It's called a shotgun effect because eventually it looks like somebody had hit it with a pellets from a shotgun. Right? And so what oftentimes happens is one person will start the process and other people will join in. We are herd animals. So what you can do, right, the more people that you talk to, the more likely you are to get paid. But did you understand that, let me just make sure, the more people you talk to about real estate, the more you're going to get paid. If you talk to some people about real estate, you're going to get paid some. If you talk to a lot of people about real estate, you can get paid a lot, right? Do you understand? It's a relationship between how many people you talk to and how often you get paid. Sometimes what people say to me is, well, I don't have anyone to talk to. I don't know anyone to talk to, right? Well, anybody you know and anybody you meet's a prospect, but how about this? Find an area you want to work, right? Let's say Blossom Valley, you find an area you want to work. Look for a recent sale that's happened in that area. Go to your friendly title company representative. If you haven't met one, you haven't been in the office long enough, right? You understand? Because if you just sit in the office, you will meet a title company rep. If you walk into the rooms where the computers and the brochures are, you're going to see brochures from title company reps. If you ask your team leader or coach if they know any title company reps, the answer is, yeah, we know a bunch of them. What you can do is you take that home that recently sold, like yesterday, and you ask the title company rep, can they give you phone numbers of the people that live in that vicinity? And the answer is yes. Right. They're not going to charge you for this. They're not going to charge you for this. Right? And what you do is you call those people and you say, did you realize that one of your neighbor's homes just closed? I thought you might be curious to know what happened. And we have a bunch of people that are still interested in buying homes in that area. Are you or anyone you know thinking about selling your home? We have more buyers. Now, you may not have more buyers, but we have more buyers, right? That is a true statement. And one of the agents that I know who went to Bold the last time, who a month or so ago was the top listing agent in Campbell, just listed a home in Saratoga. Nice, expensive home, and he got it because of doing exactly what I just said. Right? That's exactly how he got the listing. It wasn't his sale, but a house sold. Do you think the neighbors are curious about what happened when a house sold in their neighborhood? Huh? Right? Now, if it was one of our sales, you could say we, the we is we being real estate agents just sold a home. We, being Keller Williams, just sold a home, right? Do you understand? You shouldn't say, I sold a home unless you sold a home. By the way, when you have a farm and you do sell a home, then you want to call people and talk to people and say, I sold a home in your neighborhood, right? Do you know, we have more business. Do you know anybody who's in the market of selling their home? And then you just ask them questions. Really, how long have you folks lived here? You know, wow, you must have a lot of equity. When do you plan on selling your home? I had no problem asking people that question. Right? I have to admit, I was nervous the first few times, but I got over it. Nobody reacted negatively, right? I didn't meet, none of them were dog kickers, you know, people that kick dogs, right? They didn't act like that, right? People would say, well, you know, we've been thinking about selling our home, but, you know, maybe when the market goes up a little bit. Would you like to receive an ongoing property evaluations, letting you know what your home is worth on an ongoing basis? You don't have to do anything, set it up. You'll get it every month. Once a month or once a week? What would you like? Right? This can all be done easily using the multiple listing service. Keller Williams has a program that'll do it. It only allows 3 comps. With the MLS, you can tell people everything that's going on. You can set it up. I can show you how to do that. So, but do you understand, you know, how would you find for sale by owners besides walking around from the place where your car is fixed? Where?
MLS.
The MLS, for sale by owners?
Oh, for sale by owners.
Yeah.
The internet.
Internet. Are there for sale by owner websites? Really?
Yes.
What would they be called? For sale by owner.com, I think, is a website. Yes.
Didn't we hear that the founder of forsalebyowner.com actually hired a real estate
Yeah.
agent to sell his property?
Right. He was making, yes, that's, so that wouldn't be a bad thing to mention to somebody on forsalebyowner.com. Would be a good thing. Would not be a bad thing. So our for sale by owners, where else would they be? They might be on the internet. This is sort of an internet. Craigslist.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. FSBO, for sale by owners. So we have scripts. Most for sale by owners end up selling their home through a real estate agent. Right? I used to, because I was busy, right? Because I was doing other things besides selling real estate in real estate. But I was working for sale by owners in my farm, right? Because I had more rapport with them because they'd been receiving my marketing materials for a long time. And one guy had gone for sale by owner. I went over and I talked to him, and I said, "Give me some of the flyers because if people are interested, I'll send them to your house." Right? You know, I asked him if he wanted any copies of forms or anything like that. You know, I told him I wanted to see his house so that I could talk about it with the people that were coming through. And what happened was that he eventually called me up and listed it. And right after he listed it, I get a call from this couple. This is a story I continued to tell to every for sale by owner afterwards. I get a call from a couple, and they said, "We're interested in the house on Crow Court that you've listed." And I said, "Great, would you like to make an appointment to go see it?" And they said, "No, we've already seen it. We want to make an offer." So I said, "Oh, okay." And so I write up an offer, and I show it to the owner, and he got furious because he's looking at them, and those were people that had come by and talked to him when it was a for sale by owner. And he actually confronted them at the walkthrough and wanted to know why they why didn't they write the offer when he was doing it himself. And they said, "We were waiting for you to list it with a real estate agent so that we would know that all the paperwork and everything would be done properly." Right? We were waiting. Right? Yeah. Right? Yes. So most for sale by owners end up listing with real estate agents. Some of them do this as a way of interviewing real estate agents. Right? You understand? This is, you know, and there are ways, if you can, what's in it for them, if you could talk to them about that you're willing to give them a market analysis, you're willing to, you want to see it so that you'd send buyers there. By the way, almost all for sale by owners will give a commission to an agent with a buyer. Right? You understand that? If it's, let's say, 6%, 3 listing, 3 selling. They almost all will say, well, because I would call them up and say, "If I had a buyer for your listing, would you be willing to cooperate with me?" All right, this is code for give me a commission, right? And they almost always say, "Yeah, sure." They don't want to pay the listing side, but they're willing to pay a selling side. And then they would say, well, I say, "Great, I'd like to see the place." And then they'd say, "Well, do you have a buyer?" And I'd say, "I don't know. I haven't seen the place." Right? You know? I have to see the place before I can tell you if I have a buyer. When would be a good time? And then now I'm in their house, right? Asking them questions, talking to them, building a relationship. What other lists could we easily get our hands on? You mentioned MLS, expired listings. Could we go back and look at everybody who had put their house on the market for the last 5 years and it didn't sell? Can you do a back search for expired listings? The answer is yes. Could you then check to make sure that they haven't sold since then, right? Because they might have relisted it with somebody else. Not that hard to do, right? You can search by APN number. Not that hard to do. So those people that tried when the market was bad, might they be having other thoughts now? Right? Do you understand? Because what they tried to do was get what they wanted and they couldn't. Might they be, we know they wanted to sell and they didn't. The ones that expired yesterday, they're getting calls already. I'm not saying you shouldn't call them, but I'm saying how about the people that tried to sell last year and didn't, in 2011 and didn't, in 2010 and didn't, in 2009 and didn't. You understand, can you find people to talk to?
Yes.
Right, without having to leave the office? Okay. I just want to make sure, because people say, well, I don't know anybody to call. Right? I don't have anyone. Yes?
May I ask, I have a question. I live in the area, quite many people have a sales sign by other companies, not by Keller Williams. So, if I could really go to MLS, do I know this house is listing for 6 months or what?
Yes, they'll tell you exactly how many days are on the market, and you have to run a history report because sometimes they've been listed with several different agents. But there's something called the continuous days on market. You can find the whole history of it.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
they haven't sold 6 months.
Right. So you don't call ones that are on the market that haven't sold. You call the ones that have expired, and you make sure that they haven't been relisted first. So the point is, now, did any of those things that I've said so far sound too complicated? No. Did they sound pretty right? And the title company will give you a printout with phone numbers, right? I'm not.
I'm surprised they would do that, though. I mean,
Because they want, when you get a listing, they want you to remember who gave you the printout with phone numbers.
but I would think that would be like a privacy issue.
No, this is public information. Title companies, you could buy it from other people. You could buy this from other people, right? But
Get it from
go to wholesale mailing lists and type in phone lists. People will sell it to you. Why pay? All they're doing is using public records. Right. Quit. Yeah.
The people who are doing for sale by owners also often will come into your open houses because they want to see how they're supposed to do it. And then oftentimes they'll wind up talking to you, then they'll say, well, I'm selling my house. And you wind up, I can't tell you how many times that's happened, just so many times, because they don't know how to do it, and they go and they try to see how
and then
professional
they're
this
like, oh my God. Okay,
So
can you help me?
it's not going to be, I just want to make sure before we go on, it's not going to be a barrier to you're able to spend 3 hours a day that you can't find people to talk to, right? Because if it's a barrier, let me know, right? Because you understand this is not that hard. Take advantage of every conversation and fill in the remaining blanks. By the way, I don't have all your information. Can I get your email? Get your mailing address? Friend you on Facebook or Google+. In other words, what we want to do is we want to capture as much information, because you may only have a phone number, or you may not have all this. Connect. Research reveals an important characteristics all successful agents share. They are absolutely passionate about working with people and building relationships. The people that I knew a broker, and he used to tell people, well, just call people up and say, do you want to sell? And if they say no, hang up and call somebody else, right? This is not the best practice, right? Not the best practice. Because I've had people that said, I don't want to sell, but after a conversation started to refer other people to me, right? I know I've said this. It's not a numbers game. It's about building relationships. And the people that are good at sales are good at creating and maintaining relationships. What you find most rewarding about real estate, they overwhelmingly respond with answers as the people the relationship real estate allows me to have with people. In other words, they're connecting with people. Successful agents know how to connect with people and want to connect with people. So that means this isn't a profession for everyone. Right? If you hate people, you hate talking to people, you hate people talking to you, right? Do you know anybody? I know people, right, like that. They should get an accounting job in a windowless room by themselves, right? There are people that like that, right? They're called engineers. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
We would have those kinds of friends with those people.
What?
We wouldn't, be with those types of friends if,
Well, but you, how do you connect with people?
You just start talking to them.
And what do you?
well, we're
So you say, "Hi, my name's Mike. I was born just outside of Augusta, Georgia, back in."
You can do it in a grocery store, you can do it standing in a corner, you can, it's just, you might have something in common, or you might experience something, and go, wow, and then you start talking.
are you just like,
First of all, I want you to know that although we all understand this to a degree, we could become better at it. Remember the E to P, right? Do you understand? You don't have to be a natural born salesperson. These can be things that are taught and learned. One of the easiest ways is to give somebody a compliment about something.
true?
True. That's a nice necklace you have.
Thank you.
Where did you get it?
For my daughter.
Your daughter. Oh, now, if I ask her enough questions, eventually she's going to ask. It may take a long time, but eventually she's going to. Have you ever had that situation where somebody calls you, right, and you're on the phone and they're talking to you, and you're looking at the refrigerator, and you're looking at the phone, and because you want something that's in the refrigerator, so you put the phone down quietly, and you go over and you pour, right, and you come back, and at the end they say, "Wow, thanks for talking with me. It really helped me a lot." And you're like, "Oh, okay, right."
Or you're cleaning out there, you're doing your cleaning,
Right.
you put them on.
So the interaction, if I ask you questions and you talk to me, eventually there's something that's triggered where you're going to start asking me questions. Right? You understand? What do you do for a living? All right. So the way in which, the reason why we ask people questions about themselves, it's a subject that they know, that they probably like to talk about. Isn't that right? The old line, "I may not be much, but I'm all I think about." Right? Isn't that right? So you're not asking them questions that they don't know. What's the average annual rainfall in the Amazon? I mean, you're not doing that, right? They have answers. Do you have children? Yes. How many? Really? What are their ages? Oh, really? You know what school? Right? You understand? So connecting with people. Yeah.
So I've seen some people that ask too many questions, and you can see the other person start squirming, like this person's being intrusive into
Right. I would. You have to. This isn't a set thing, right? In other words, you have to pay attention to the other person and go with the flow, right? You have to pay attention, and sometimes it's not a good time. Right? And some people want to. One of the things that we talk about in Keller Williams, and they've done a lot with, are what are called the DISC behavioral styles, and you can actually take a free test from the Tony Robbins group about DISC styles and profiling. And what that means is that different people react to different stimulus differently, right? You probably already guessed this, but there's actually some study in psychology behind it. And one of the things that we recommend that you do is mirror or pattern your behavior based on theirs. If they talk slow, you shouldn't talk fast. Right? You understand? You should try to slow down too. Otherwise, it's like you're doing the waltz and they're doing the polka. That's an old metaphor. But you're not in sync. Yes.
I have a question. When I was an operations manager we have engineers come from all over the country. So there'd be people from the South who talk, you know, with that accent, and I would catch myself, and one of the other women in the office would go, well, you can tell there's people from Tennessee here because Jackie's talking like she's from the South, and I didn't even realize that. What was
It's a
that?
good habit to get into, to modify the way we communicate. We're not being insincere, but we're simply, if somebody didn't understand certain words, we would probably not use them on purpose. Right? Do you understand? We're simply modifying our communication so that the other person can receive the message better.
The minute, I mean, you know, it's like instant, and I didn't do it on purpose. It was like kind of creepy, but I didn't know if that that was just me or a problem.
Let's look at a sample script for connecting. Hello, this is Mike. Hello, Joe. This is Mike. Do you have a minute? Great. And usually you don't wait at that point. Great. I'm just calling you about business. Why would we put that line in? To focus the conversation. Right? Also, so there's something about sort of inoculate. It's like preparing them a little bit. As you may or may not know, I'm now in real estate and have joined Keller Williams Realty. Part of my job is to call people I know and like and ask about their real estate needs. By the way, if you want, I've actually had new agents do this. You could tell them that your coach and or manager is making you call people every day. Right? I've had people say that. Really? I can say that? I said, yeah. Go ahead, say it. So, if that makes it easier for you, tell him. Well, he wants me to call people every day, so I'm calling you, huh? So how's your real estate? You know, I mean, continue by asking for business and asking as many connecting questions as you can to investigate their needs in the open-ended questions. We're talking about, I mentioned questions. Time is money. When calling your sphere, it's easy to start chatting, and before you know it, you may have spent 15 minutes on the phone with someone who has no intention of buying or selling. What you ought to do is tell them that you'll call them back later in the afternoon when you're not in your 3 to 4 hours of prospecting. Right? Have coffee with them before you begin your 3 to 4 hours of prospecting. Tell them you have an appointment. Is that true? Are you going to put in your calendar that you have an appointment to prospect?
Yes.
Yes. So you have an appointment now to do something else. Sorry, I need to do something else right now. Can we talk later? Right? Prospect with efficiency in mind so you can reach the most amount of people in the least amount of time. Avoid the chatterers with this script. I'd love to catch up with you, but I'm at work right now. Can I call you back when I am free to stay on the phone as long as I want? Why not? Right? In most jobs, do they like it to hear you having personal conversations on the phone at work? No. Of course, people say, well, we're in real estate. You know, even one of the owners was talking about walking around and watching real estate agents. One guy was watching Glenn Beck, and he walked over, and another one was watching a TV show, and he walked over, and another one was watching, and he's like, what the, you know, this is, you're at work, you know. Ask the owners if they would like you to work while you're here, all right? All right. See what they say, all right? I'm going out on a limb with this. All right, ask open-ended questions. When I learned this, which is 100 years ago, the guy I learned it from, his name was Floyd Wickman, and he called them WOPEN questions, W-O-P-E-N, WOPEN. And the reason that he called them WOPEN is because he said most of them begin with a W. And he said, and if you don't know what to ask, start with the woo and see what comes out. You know, the who, what, where, why, when. The only one that doesn't fit is how. Start who, what, where, why, when. Notice how they all like W's. And if you would please tell me a little bit about your family, job, life, etc. What are you looking for? What do you want to do? Where would you like to buy? Where is your home located? How long have you lived there? That's a how. But Why are you moving? When would you like to do this? When do you plan on selling your home? When do you plan on buying a home? Do you currently rent or own? Right? If you're assuming you're not calling homeowners, do you currently rent or do you own? Have you ever considered buying a home? Would you like to find out? This is what I used to ask people. Would you like to find out? Do you understand that because of tax deductions, the government's actually going to help you buy a home? How would you like to find out how much house your, with those deductions, your current rent check would buy? Spending what you're spending right now, want to find out what you could buy. How about that? This is called a rent versus buy analysis, right? Which we have systems for. Your loan agent has software. We have software. There's Excel spreadsheets. There's printed forms to do this. Yeah.
On the news today, they had a segment in which they were talking about, is it a good time to buy a house? They said that it caught, right now, because the rent right now is very few rentals available, and the prices they expect a 4% increase this year. It's 40% more expensive to rent than it is to.
Rents are going up. This is one of my blogs for the real estate school. I also, by the way, post this on my LinkedIn account. And let's see, upbeat about housing. Home ownership is 45% cheaper than renting. An article from the San Jose Mercury News.
Also, those families or people who have had issues with foreclosure in the past are coming back. And
How long after a foreclosure versus a short sale, or either of those, do you have before you can buy again?
I think 3 years.
2 years for a short sale, 3 years for a foreclosure. Can you find people that had foreclosures more than 3 years ago?
Sure.
Yeah. Do you think our databases include that? Right. So do you understand? They're out there. Insights from Shift. Does everybody see this book? You should get You should get the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, and you should get the book Shift. The fundamental thing to connecting is curiosity. To know who someone is, to understand their wants and needs, and to become aware of their worries and concerns. You are investigating, not selling. You are a consultant. This is called consultative selling, right? Old school selling was getting people to do things they don't want to do. The old line, he could sell ice boxes to Eskimos. He's a great salesman, right? You understand the problem with that is in real estate, there's too many ways to get out of transactions you don't want to be in, and there's too many lawyers in the world. And if you convince people to buy things that they do not want, you are going to meet lawyers, right? You understand? They'll be sitting next to you at the hearings and things like that. So it's not about getting people to do things they don't want to do. It's about finding out what people want to do and help them do it. That's selling. The hard part is finding out what they want to do, because sometimes they don't really know. Right? I remember an engineer who was trying to make a spreadsheet of all the questions to ask the buyer so he could predict precisely which house in the MLS the person would buy. The Lao Tzu said, no plan survives contact with the enemy. Right? He was talking about the art of war. No plan survives contact with the enemy. Right? And the problem is that until people see homes, they don't know what they want. Right? They don't know. Right? And so they change their minds. So if you are a consultant who wants to understand their situation and help if needed, your goal is to generate trust and build confidence. First yours, then theirs. That's an interesting, to generate first yours, then build confidence. Yours and theirs. Do you have to be confident in your abilities in order to be successful in real estate? Right? Do you believe that you can do a great job for somebody? Some people are, you had to convince somebody that you would have help. if you ran across something you didn't understand.
That's a big plus.
It's a big plus to have help.
Well, you know, because I tell them when they decide to engage with myself as an agent, they get a lot more bang for their buck. They get a whole lot of nice and agents and all of this. So that always helps.
If you don't believe that it's good for them to work with you, this is going to be very difficult. Right? You understand? This is going to be a hard process.
It helps to have all those people on your side though, too.
Confidence. Close. Connecting is crucial, but unless you get their business, you'll be popular, but won't make any money. Closing is the process of asking for business, a referral, or an appointment. People don't do business with people they like. They do business with people they like who ask them to do business with them. All right? I'm not saying that they're going to do business with you if you don't like you. Like, trust, and what's the third one? I don't know. They do business with people they like and trust, but only with those who they like and trust who ask them to do business with them. All right? Closing is simply helping them make a decision. Most people expect the real estate agent to close, so don't disappoint them. Right? Do you understand? I've had, you're showing somebody homes, they seem to really like a home, you know that this is the best one out there because you've been doing work, and they're like, oh, we don't know, we want to think about it. You say, well, that's a good thing to do. You ought to go home and think about it. I'd certainly think about it if I were going to buy a home, right? And then Monday they call you up and they say, all right, we've thought about it, great, we want to do it, and you go look and it's a pending sale already, right? It's a pending sale. Somebody else bought it. So you call them back and you say, sorry, you're not going to get that house. Well, what's your second choice? How does this sound to them? There's no second choice, right? So a lot of times they get discouraged. They go away, and they end up buying a house using another agent, right? So closing is not getting them to do things they don't want to do. Closing is keeping them from making a mistake they're going to later regret, right?
See, and I think if you have a young couple who have already put down, like 5 offers, and they have not been able to, get anything huge, even to the positive side, don't you think that as an agent, if they want to put down an offer on a place, you need to encourage them to do as much as they can to extend if they really, truly, want this.
My goal was always to write an offer that the seller could accept.
That's right, or not embarrassed.
Right. I did not like to write offers that they would probably counter.
Yeah.
Because why you're not in this market, right? This isn't a buyer's market. You write an offer that the seller will accept.
So you're not going to write an offer that's lower than the house.
You know what I would do when people wanted to do that? I'd say, let me ask you this question: are you serious about buying a house?
See,
Are you? Are you serious? What do you? I mean, are you serious? And then if they say, well, yeah, we're serious. Well, this is not serious. Right? Do you understand? This is not serious.
Especially 5,
So, this, by the way, is a question I ask agents and I ask buyers and I'd ask sellers. Are you serious about selling your home? Because it's always about motivation. Whether or not you succeed in real estate has more to do with your motivation than does almost any other factor. You're getting this already? Right? Because if you spent 4 hours a day calling people and talking to people, you'd be successful in real estate. Even if you're tone deaf, colorblind with a trick knee, right? And a speech impediment, you would still, right? You would still outsell the people that look good, sound good, dress well, that are sitting around waiting for people to call them. Right? It's about motivation. For buyers, it's about motivation, and for sellers, it's about motivation. So,
But there's people I've had clients, usually they're engineers, that want to quote, negotiate. They want to get the deal, and no matter what you say to them, they can, well, I want to offer this, I want to offer this, and they claim they're serious, but they come in so low that they don't, and
What-
it may be over the asking
What,
price.
what I've done with people like that, first of all, if you have enough buyers, you don't have to work with people you do not want to work with. And I've told people, you're not serious, I'm not wasting my time. And I said, I'll give you a list of names. I know a bunch of agents that don't have anything to do, right? They're in my night class that I teach. And I have a list of their names, and you can call them, and you can call. So I'm just kidding, but you understand? I would show them what's happening in the market.
Yeah.
You know, what is the average? See, part of this has to do with your knowledge. What is the average list of sales price right now? It's over 100%. It's 102, and for specific areas, it's much higher. That's average, right? So, but we're going to get there. We're coming up on sessions about negotiating offers. So, closes, the hard close. Let's meet. Isn't that sounds kind of tough, isn't it? That's pretty. Isn't that pretty? No. Let's meet. I used to write on the board CITO, which stood for come into the office. If it's a seller, you want to meet them at their house to look at the house. If it's a buyer, you want them to come into the office. The soft close, I've enjoyed visiting with you. When would you like to get together to discuss this further? Can we meet today or would tomorrow be better?
That's pretty harsh. I mean, solid.
Well, you see, I used to say, and I have samples of my scripts, which I'm going to go over. I'm doing coaching and things like that. But what I used to say to people is, it's called an opening involvement question. And what that means is I would say, would you like some information about how you can negotiate the best price when buying a house in today's market? Would you be interested in knowing that? Right? Well, when could you come in so we could talk about it? Right? And I have a presentation called How to Get the Best Buy. I have a PowerPoint presentation called called Buyer Representation, about how to get the best buy, which is available for a nominal fee. Well, you know, I mean, and I'll give you copies of it, and you can change it if you'd like. But I have a presentation, right? And you want them to come into the office. It involves them being pre-approved, and it involves them making a commitment to work exclusively with an agent who knows and understands what they're looking for, and is committed to helping them find it. Right? There's more to it than that, but but anyhow, there's the trial close. If you would agree that I think you'd agree that we've gone over enough today that meeting would be our next step. It sounds like we should meet. I'm available most times this week, so what works best for you? That's a new agent close. I'm available most times this week. Would you be offended if I asked if we could meet to go over this? You say, no, I'm offended. I don't know. I really enjoyed visiting with you. To be honest, I'm not sure if I can be of help or not. But I would be honored if we could meet to find out. I used to tell sellers when I would go on the listing appointments, we're going to need to ask you some questions so we can talk just to determine if we can even work together. Right? This wasn't, I'm here to beg for the listing. But I'm not sure because I was busy. And I did not want to take listings that I knew were not going to sell. Right, because I had enough listings do you understand how your attitude, you have enough buyers, you're not going to work with people that are uncommitted and not pre-approved, right?
The first time you spend all day working on a contract with a buyer for an offer and they come back and,
you can't get anything. You can either learn by making your own mistakes or learn from the mistakes of people that have gone before you, right? So we're just saying, all right, so what you ought to do is study these. Maybe put them up. Practice saying them. If you can't close, you can't sell.
Can't have coffee.
That's right. That's from a great sales meeting speech. Alec Baldwin, Glengarry Glen Ross. Right? No coffee is for closers. If you can't close, you can't sell. And the tie down, I'm going to talk more about this later, but that's You would agree, wouldn't you? Right? Don't you think so? It's asking them a question back during the process so that they make some affirmative statement that they're agreeing that you're moving along. So, you're going to connect with people. You're going to ask them some questions: who, what, when, why, where, and how. Right? When do you plan on buying a home? When do you plan on selling a home? Right? I don't see anything wrong with those questions. Right? Do you you're going to close if people say, "Well, we're really not in the market right now," but we can't do anything for several years. We've been unemployed for the last 2 years, and I just got hired again. Right? Is that going to be a problem that they've only been at the job for 2 months? Right? That could be a problem. So, but does that mean, do you understand the fortune is in the follow-up? You want to put somebody like that on a 33-touch program. You want to call them and talk to them. They might know someone who's interested in buying or selling a house. The more you know. Cultivate. Whether or not you've closed for an appointment or gotten a referral, once a connection is made, it can be strengthened. It's an ongoing process. The relationship status established here will continue to build as you keep in touch. You want the relationship to keep building. You want to keep calling and talking to them. You want to send them information about what's going on in the market. You want to be seen as an expert about buying and selling real estate. All right. Does this... See, I've noticed over the years that people say, "Oh, wow, there's a lot involved," and if all that it took to make big money was taking those 3 college level courses, passing the real estate exam, and joining the board of realtors, did you understand that we make professionally sized incomes? My father was an orthopedic surgeon, and there were years I made more money than he did, and he went to school for a really long time, right? But the way in which you can make professionally sized incomes is by being a professional, right? So I guess what I'm saying is that the studying has just begun. Cultivate. First, thank you for giving me some thought. Now that we've spoken about referrals, you're likely to think of someone since I put the thought in your mind. So when you do, please give me a call or send me an email. And if it's okay with you, I'm just going to check back from time to time to see who you have thought of or heard from that I could help. Is that okay? Now, what you're asking them is for permission. First of all, you understand when you ask them if they would be willing to keep you in mind, whenever they hear of somebody who's thinking about buying or selling a house, would you be willing to keep me in mind whenever you hear about somebody who's thinking of buying or selling a house? And they say, yes, they've agreed to work for you. Isn't that right? Didn't they just do that? They just agreed to work for you, didn't they? So now your job is to manage your new employee. Doesn't that make sense? Right? You don't actually say it with those words, but isn't that what we're talking about? There are people they're agents who've made substantial incomes that do not have a geographic farm, but they have a people farm. Right? Because what they were doing is calling, right? Do you understand? They were calling people and talking to people and putting them in their database and following up with the people and calling people and talking to them and putting them in the database, and they weren't doing this in any specific geographic area. They weren't doing the William Lyons in Blossom Valley, right? They weren't doing the pyramids, right? That's not what they were doing. They were doing anywhere in San Jose that they were talking to for sale by owners, to expired listings, the people around listings that have come on the market, or you understand the other one is a listing that came on the market. Did you know that one of your neighbors has just put their home on the market? It's a similar floor plan to yours. I thought you might be interested in knowing something about it. That does not have to be our listing. Right? Don't say it's your listing or our listing. A home has come on the market in your neighborhood. That's all they did was call people, talk to people, meet people, get business cards from people, get contact information, put them in the database, and follow up with them. And many of those agents make significant incomes. The fortune is in the follow-up. Have I said that before? Touch campaigns can be set in motion at this point. From time to time, I send out market information to people who like to keep up with what's going on in local real estate. I'd be happy to add you to the list. Don't worry, I'm not going to barrage you with emails. I do it every 4 to 6 weeks. Huh? Can you get information about what's going on in the real estate market locally? Did we talk about that? Ask for referral. Thank you for taking the time. Do you know of anybody who's thinking of buying, selling, or investing in real estate in the near future? I used to say, of all the people you know, who's most likely to be interested in buying or selling or investing in real estate in the near future? But I made a lot of money doing it. So, 4 C's of prospecting: mix and match. Because of this class really would take 4 hours to do everything that was in the handout. You know, and in fact, I used to do it. One time I did it in 3 hours, but people started to give me those looks. Well, you know what looks. Yeah. So I'm expecting you to practice the scripts yourself or with other people. And one of the things that I'm going to be setting up soon is, for the people that I'm coaching, is we're actually, oh man, I should say this. We're actually going to meet in the mornings and actually do some of this. Practice on live patients. Uh-huh.
Patients, life.
Yeah, like the doctor. That's right. We're not,
Where
so
are you getting
we're-
these patients?
I went through the list. Of where we could get people to call and talk to us. So we'll practice scripts, and we're going to spend some time calling. Right? No, not tomorrow. Tomorrow I have to wait until after I'm done with Ignite, because all my mornings are booked for something. Right? But until then, well, I have to wait a little bit.
We can practice skits on our own.
You certainly could. There's no rule against it.
You do
Call up your kids and do it to them.
Right. Well, you actually could get a list from the title company and practice on those people. Amateurs practice until they get it right. Professionals practice until they can't get it wrong. Professional athletes, professional musicians. I was taught in my degrees in speech communication, and one of my mentors in that said, the more thinking you can do before you're talking, the less you have to do while you're talking. Right? Do you understand? The more practice you are, so you know what to say, the easier it is for you to think of stuff. If all you're doing is making it up as you're going along, it's going to be really hard. The 3-3. Research says that you will need at least 3 hours of lead generation time, and that you must do 3 things to be effective. Time blocking is called the 3-3, which stands for 3 things done in 3 hours. As a new, the 3 things are prepare, take action, and maintain. Prepare means, we've gone through this, but this is just this is a better list. Your sphere of influence. Collect business cards. Leads that need, if you have a sign caller website. I'm going to talk about how to get leads from Craigslist, but if you don't want to wait, because I know some of you really don't want to wait, if we were to simply, just on this page, if you, like this page has a whole lot of things, if you do a control and an F, or it's a command F if you're a Mac person, and we type in CRAIG, Craigslist starts to pop up. The Craigslist challenge. I don't know where part 2 is. Then there's another Craigslist challenge down here, and these are long, almost hour long. There's an ebook that you can download, and 2 hours worth of instruction on how to generate leads for free using the Keller Williams technology in Craigslist. There's 2 hours of online instruction. For those of you, by the way, this can count as lead generation if you ran ads every day in Craigslist for free. Did I mention that? For free. And it'll show you how to use our technology. The eEdge website has some particularly useful things for running Craigslist ads. And it has a lead capture, and watch those videos. All right? I'm just saying. So this list are where you could get people to talk to. Expired, if you don't have past clients. Allied resources are all those people who give you cards that have flyers and brochures. By the way, one of the groups that I used to work with were contractors who did remodeling. Do you think as a real estate agent you'll run across people that want things fixed in their house? Think so? Do you think that contractors run across people that are getting their home fixed so that they can put it on the market? How would you find contractors who do remodeling?
Angie's List.
Angie's List, Craigslist, the community newspapers, right?
What was called the Tuesday thing.
If you were to, there's the Campbell Times, the Willow Glen Resident, they're running ads.
People that you've used before.
Some of these people haven't used anyone before, but if you have, so you understand, can you find allied resources are people that are working with the same people we're working with, right? So you might recommend them if they'll recommend you. You could work together. Past clients out for sale by owners, we've already talked about. Rehearse scripts, say your affirmations in the big why. All right, now print this is about the database. I'm not going to do social media in this class. Top agents get their preparation done well in advance of their prospecting time. Oh, that's not part of the 3 hours.
Well, that's for top agents.
Top agents.
Yes, we don't have to worry, we're not top yet.
Not yet. You know, how serious are you about making money in real estate? Are you serious enough that you can get this done in the afternoon so that you could spend 3 hours in the morning calling and talking to people? Right? Agents who go through bold, that's what I see them doing. Spending 3 hours a day, 5 days a week calling people. By the way, if you don't want to do this, don't go to bold. Right? You understand? If you don't want to make money and you don't want to lead generate, don't go to bold. Right? Because they sort of, push you to do that. Right? And you can complain all the way to the bank. All right. A note on no. Many agents resist prospecting because they fear the word no. Be prepared to hear it. Even mega agents hear no. The people who make the most money are generally told no the most often. They're also told yes the most often because they talk to more people to begin with. The best way to cope with this fear is to change your perspective. No is not rarely personal. If you say to somebody, when do you plan on selling your home? They say, we don't plan on selling our home. Well, that's not rejection, right? You understand? They don't plan on selling their home. If they say, well, actually, Mike, we do plan on selling our home, but under no circumstances would we ever use you as our real estate agent. Now that's rejection, right? You understand? But most of the time they don't say that, right? They kick your dog and tell you to, right? That's normally not what they do. No usually means not now. In our business, that's what no means, not now, right? Because later, are they going to buy or sell a house sometime in their life? Probably.
Tommy Hopkins says that when somebody says no to you, pay yourself $1. He says you can get really rich.
Yeah, pay yourself. Steal $1 from somebody. So this goes on to say it means no, not now. And so, do you understand that if you count your figs, so many no's result in a yes. Right? You make so many phone calls, you get so many no's, you get a yes. So the idea is every time you get a no, you've gotten one step closer to yes. You have to kiss so many frogs before you find the prince. Isn't that I don't know. Anyhow, I'm mixing my metaphors. The other problem that I've noticed for many times with new people, it's not so much a fear of no that gets them, it's the fear of yes. That someone's going to say yes. Yeah, I do want to sell my house. Can you come over this afternoon? Oh my God! Oh my God!
I call you and say, can you come with me?
Well, that may be what you do, but would that be better to go with somebody and to do it and to get it and learn and would that be better than, right? So I know, because sometimes new people will say, well, I'm going to wait until I really know a lot more than I know now, until I know everything, and then I'm going to start. You'll never prospect then, right? You understand? Because you're never going to know enough. These classes, you understand, this is the base primer, like a coat of paint. There's more than one. This is just the first one. There's a second, there's a third, there's in Keller Williams 7 levels, right? You will never know everything. This class is both too much and not enough, right? So but the best way to learn is to get a client. The best, if you want to sit and study the zip form contracts, that's really boring. It'll be a lot more meaningful when somebody wants you to fill one out. Right? You understand? The best way to learn is to find somebody who wants to buy or sell a house. And then we'll carry you through that process. Right? And then you'll know then it'll become easier. Yes?
Do you remember the first time somebody said yes? I still can remember the emotion. The first one I heard, oh my God, I was so excited. And I was terrified at the same time. But it worked. It was just really a cool experience. The first time was awesome. So don't be afraid of it.
A note on do not call. There are a list of people who say do not call me. The title companies are hip to this and subscribe. And it's called scrubbing. They can scrub the list for you. Right? And how much do they?
You a scrub list?
What?
Do they automatically provide you a scrub list?
I believe so, yes. They know what they're doing. Right? The software that the title company uses, you can buy. It costs like $100,000, right? But they have really good. If you haven't, one of your assignments is going to be find a friendly title rep, tell them you're new, and you'd like to. In fact, I think one at Old Republic talked over at the other office. They'll meet with you and show you all the goodies that they have. All right. Invite a database to an open house. Ask METS for business. These are different scripts which you're going to practice. Take action. It is prospecting time. 2 hours of the 3 is spent making connections, building relationships, and asking for business. Project as much positivity into your calls as possible. People respond to energy and enthusiasm. Smile. I used to have a sign that said smile next to the phone. People can tell. If you're standing up, you have a different energy. I used to stand when I would call people. Right? If you walk around, you'll see that there are workstations with those little lecterns that fit on the top of a table on them. If you walk around private offices, you'll see them in private offices. This isn't for them practicing for Toastmasters, right? They're doing it because they put their stuff here and they have their microphone when they call. You should do it with the attitude, well, how about this one? Chris Heller, my attitude is that every person I talk to has a paycheck stapled to their forehead, and it is my job to go and get it. I'm not going to lose it. I will do whatever it takes to get the appointment. I would always believe that there was somebody on the other end that needed help, that had problems, that needed help buying and selling real estate. Enthusiasm. Enthusiasm can be practiced. Haven't you ever forced yourself to be enthusiastic sometime? Sincerity is harder. I mean, once you've learned to fake that, wait a second. Never mind. So keep a smile on your face. Stand rather than sit. Dress professionally. How can they tell? How can they tell? Well, so much of communication comes from tone and attitude, more than just the words. My mindset represents 90% of success. In bold, you'll reprogram your thinking, expand. This is a bold commercial. Phone call, start dialing. A, B, and C calls. This is people that you've been tracking. Open house calls first. Invite people in the neighborhood to an open house. Could you, if you're doing an open house for an agent, could you get a list of the people in the neighborhood and call them and invite them? Right? You could also go knock on doors and invite people. If you have not contacted your database, let them know that you're in real estate and start contacting, marked as B, and then C, and there's a call sheet. Maintain. Once you've done this, you get a congratulations, you filled your pipeline with leads, and now it's housekeeping time. Approximately 30 minutes of your daily three should be spent wrapping up your lead generation with some methodical follow-up. So this is included, right? The 3 things in the 3 hours. If it makes you feel better, we're only spending about 2 hours to 2.5 hours actually making the calls, right? Because we're spending some time at the beginning and some time at the end. But you want to get them into the system. And the buyer instant notification system, what that is, it's a this is where we call them email listing alerts, where people get information. So one of the things that you can offer somebody who's thinking about buying is that you'll keep them informed of everything that comes on the market, that is on the market, that fits their wants and needs. Best way to do that is through eEdge, where you set up, once somebody is in your database, you can set up a search for them. And it'll start sending it to them automatically. You ought to do all this for yourself so that you see what it looks like. More shift, they keep mentioning that book. While maintenance is important, preparation and taking action are more important. Your goal is consistent lead generation. The way to do it is seeing your job as lead generation first, servicing second. We sometimes make excuses not to do it. Why are you going to be intense prospecting as part of your routine for the next 90 days? Where did they get that from? Because you want to take your real estate career from 0 to 60 and you want it to happen fast. 90 days. There's some, we actually call it the 90-day rule. And what that sort of means, although this isn't always true, what you're doing now is going to have an impact later. That doesn't mean you couldn't call today and find somebody today and sell them a house by this weekend. But as a general rule, the leads you're developing now are going to come to fruition in 90 days. My goal for new agents is to get you to write up some business in the first 30 days. And if you do open houses and you prospect for buyers and you prospect, you can find somebody. Write up some business. It might not necessarily mean you've gotten paid. It might not mean a purchase contract, but it would mean a listing or a buyer-broker loyalty agreement of some sort. Because what you need to do is to get clients. Power of marketing versus the power of prospecting versus the slow burn of marketing. Many agents try to kickstart their career with marketing rather than prospecting because of their fear of the word no. Let's face it, we would rather that people call us rather than we call them. Wouldn't that be nice? If they just called us and said, hey, I want to sell my house. When can you come over and talk to me about putting it on the market? That does work. Top agents do that too. They generally spend somewhere between 12, 15, and 20% of their income they plow back into various forms of marketing. Now, if you want to know how that works, let's say you want to make $100,000. That means if you want to do it by marketing, you may have to spend $15,000 on marketing. Do you have the $15,000 to spend right now? No. All right. So would it be easier for you to start budgeting for that once you're already making money? How it doesn't cost any, which is more effective? You're talking to people or getting them to talk to you? The answer is you're talking to people. It doesn't cost anything. It works quicker, and it's more effective. The only reason that we don't do it is because we don't want to. Right? It's the only reason we don't do it. Quicker, more effective, doesn't cost anything. And I think I've already said this, and I had heard this before. Chris Heller didn't think of that. You can wait for it, you can buy it, or you can earn it. Those are the three ways of getting leads. Cheapest, fastest, most productive is just go out and earn it. Just go out and talk to people. There's an agent who's transitioning from Oregon, who's taking my real estate classes down here. She sold 10 homes in Oregon while she's down here because she would fly back up, it's not a long flight. And her company that she was with before, she said she didn't even want a website. She didn't want a website. All of her business she gets from talking to people, meeting people, talking to people, handing out her card, getting their information. That's all of her business. Right? Now, 8 transactions in our marketplace, Right? Do you understand that at 5 you would have capped out, which means you'd be at 100%? Is it a question?
Is it, well, because I remember you talking about that. I'm curious if she's going to find the same willingness to do business down here with someone who doesn't have a web presence. Because
Well, she's joining.
it's such a different market.
Yeah, but she's going to have a website
Oh, she is.
because she's going to join us and have a website. But what is it that people really want? They want to get listings sent to them by email, right? That's the big thing. That can be done through the multiple listing service without you having a website. In addition, the multiple listing service would save for like $15 a month a little mini website that would do just that function. It's about $15 a month. But if you told me what it was that you were looking for and gave me your email address very soon, you would get a list of everything that's currently on the market, and you'd get updates every day with a message to call Mike if you see anything you'd like, right? You understand? You can handle the internet part without having a website. Why do people go to real estate agent websites? So that they could do a search to find out what they're looking for. Best practices would be that you meet with somebody first before they set it up, right? Because they might be. I had a lady who went through my real estate school and then dropped out and wanted to buy a home in San Mateo. She changed it because I had a system where you could change it yourself. She changed her search like over 60 times. Kept adding areas and dropping areas, and at this point I realized she was never going to buy anything, right? You understand? Because what would have been better, what would be best is for them to come into the office and for me to do a complete home buying consultation and then set them up on the screen in the office, in the MLS. You could do that without having your own website. Sellers, generally, there isn't much there except a form for sellers to fill out that says they want to know what their home is worth. But if I would tell people, tell me your address, and I'll tell you what your home is worth, right? So it's possible to not have a website and to sell real estate, even in Silicon Valley, if you're good at talking to people and getting them to tell you the information, right? In some ways, it actually adds a level of barrier that you send people to your website rather than having them come into the office and meet with you, right? But I'm not saying don't have a website. I'm just saying if I had to pick between an agent that went out and talked to people all the time and one that had a really nice website, I would go with the first. All right. Anyhow, the power of prospecting, telemarketing. How are we doing on this? We're almost done. There's some other books. We have a class called 3612-3. Which is going to be probably next year. We did it recently. That's 30. The goal of Ignite, by the way, is to do 16 transactions in a year. If you were to do the daily 10-4 and the 3-3, and the end of the year, you should be on track to doing 16 transactions. Our level 2 course, which is called the lead generation, is 36 transactions in 12 months with 3 hours a day prospecting. Once you've done research, that supports the idea that you should do both prospecting and marketing. Doing both is better. But prospecting is the cornerstone of lead generation. Every time you meet someone, you should be thinking, what is the relationship opportunity here? Find people who will work with you now. By the way, if you haven't read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, shame on you. You should get a copy, right?
Can you get it from the website? Can you read it?
You can, if you, I don't know if I
You
should
get
type
it
it.
from on your iPad website, Nook and Kindle. You can get it on
MREA, which is Minnesota Rural.
That's not
Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And what I did is that you search for this, and this is an extra bonus advanced search. And you pick format PDF.
Have you updated this in recent years? Because it's been out for a long time.
It's been out for a long time, but not as long as Tommy Hopkins, Floyd Wickman, Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, and Og Mandino, and so I'm not sure that the basics have changed. But since then, there's been Shift, and The Millionaire Real Estate Investor, and there's a new book, Holden, another book. But much of what is in The Millionaire Real Estate Agent is still true. And so there's a PDF called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. What happens if we click on that? This is topics. Anyhow, you can buy it as a downloadable book, and you can get it from kellerinc.com, and you can get it, I think, at the library. But I would buy a copy of it. All right. So the power of prospecting face-to-face. These are the ones. There's others that we're going to incorporate later. Lead generation focus. There's a long list of things for you to think about. More targets. Recap. And go to work. So that's all we're going to do for today. I'm actually finishing close to on time, which is, I know, odd. But I have a PDF version of The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. The whole thing in PDF. If you send me an email, I would send it to you. What? It's a book. By the way, if you go to kw.com, mykw.com, and you type in Millionaire Real Estate Agent, sometimes just typing in MREA will do it. You're going to see that this one here, Holly Perry, is a trainer that was trained by Gary Keller, and she goes through the book. These are audio recordings of her going through the book and explaining it. I would recommend doing that, right? And most of what's in the book, you understand the market is either good, that it's bad, then it gets good, and then it gets bad. Most of what's in the book is just sound, basic business practice and models for real estate. Wow, look at this. Consulting with the MR, lead generation and wow.
When you check MREA by pay whatever, it's $15. Is that to write the book?
You can buy the book. Talk to Jeff today and ask him. Talk to Jeff. I'm just saying. Talk to Jeff.
Who I pay, right?
Just talk to Jeff. Ask him that if you see everybody that I sponsor gets a free book from Jeff.
Oh, really? What if you already
So
bought
does
your
Jeff
book?
give those free books to us?
I have to say
Talk to Jeff about
What
it.
about if we already bought our book, maybe we could get shipped?
I don't know about that. Talk to Jeff.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just
It always
kidding.
goes,
All right, is that enough? I'm hopelessly pandering people, but I don't care. Is that enough? Is that good enough?
Yep.
All right. You wore me out. That's all I can do.